After a rough couple years of plant selling, what's the future of plant selling look like? Should brick and mortar plant stores start to sell coffee and create more of an immersive experience? We're going to talk about a lot of the ideas you guys left down in the comments for the future of plant stores and what you would like to see. The main theme from last week's video was many of you guys had these great ideas of hybridized plant shops. It seems like a way you might be able to pay your rent at one of these brick and mortars is by creating a place where people can come grab a cup of coffee and then peruse around a little, hang out with their friends, and maybe buy a plant if they're interested. But they can also sit and talk, and it's not like a pressured retail experience. It looks like this is an Oregon plant shop where they sell exactly that, coffee and plants at the same time. And what's great is it looks like they are still open and running in business 3 years later. A few of you guys actually mentioned even maybe a plant and bookstore could be of interest, but retail rent is still really expensive. I don't know about you guys, I'm kind of an introvert sometimes, and just ordering a plant online sometimes just feels more natural. But I would probably go to a coffee and plant shop. But what are you guys doing? Are you going to plant stores? Or are you mostly going to buy your plants on the internet, or are you going to just your hardware store? I went to my local hardware store over the weekend and I saw someone coming out with a Monstera adansonii. And that's when it kind of triggered in my head, like, it's not that plant stores are going away, it's that many retail stores like hardware stores, grocery stores, coffee shops might want to start carrying plants as a way to diversify their income. Relying on just one income stream, especially when it's already so ubiquitous and competitive, would be really challenging. And the top comment on last week's video is the plant stores that opened up in my city were overpriced and they focused way more on aesthetic than substance. As a cactus collector, I couldn't care less about how cute your store is or how many Instagrammable overpriced pots you have. And there, I thought this comment was great. As a New Yorker, I only go into plant shops for the vibe. And I never actually buy anything there because I can get it cheaper on Etsy. So what are you guys actually doing? I think we're in a point of transition for the houseplant retail world. And so many of us are buying on so many different platforms via online or pop-up shops. Are you guys going to your Facebook group meetups for your plant swaps? Are you going to plant cons or like big plant events? I know our business last year, we tried to do around 20 pop-ups because we didn't have a retail space. So we'd rent a space for the day in a bunch of different cities and pop up and sell plants that way. That worked pretty good, but the spaces can be like $500 to $1,000 per day. And here's another place in LA. It's called Creatures, Plants, and Coffee. And at least the renderings look really beautiful of the greenhouse attached to a coffee bar. And it says they're on track to open early 2024. So apparently a lot of people have had this similar idea. We showed the place in Oregon that's been doing business since 2021. Here's a coffee and pastry bar, it looks like, with an outdoor greenhouse and a sitting area. The only thing that comes through my head is like just the build out cost of this probably is like $50,000 to $150,000. And then a rent at that space is starting at like in LA, like $5,000 to $10,000, maybe $15,000. So you just have to be doing serious numbers, maybe, near $1 million of sales to keep this stable. But this is in the really hip part of LA. And it makes sense that I bet something like this would work really well in like a Brooklyn, an Eagle Rock, a Seattle, one of these downtown parts of like a very hip and young generation. And also just to address the last week's video had a lot of comments about like the industry's dying, plants are a fad and they're coming to an end. Here's my take on that. I think people aren't having as many kids as previous generations, and plants are a thing to care for us enthusiasts. And then it's a scientific thing that we can play with and experiment with, and it's very satiating from like a cerebral sense. So I don't think the houseplant world is going anywhere. I think it might be shrinking, and the plant hype of thousands of dollars of plants is going away. But I think Gen Z seems to at least be very into plants and potentially environment, and those tend to go hand in hand. So I'm very pro plant, and I do think that we're going to see a good future in the houseplant world. But this is a super expensive build. I mean, it's beautiful. The renderings of it are beautiful and super Instagrammable. But that's kind of been the critique that a lot of you guys said in the Instagram comments. Like, in order for a place like this to make money, you can't just go in and buy a $5 cup of coffee and sit there all day and do your work, which is pretty much what most of us want to do. But that landlord is paying that $15,000 to $20,000 just for the space, not for labor or anything yet. So this is a very serious endeavor. But I wish them the best, and hopefully this shout out can help them a bit, and I'd be down to go visit this place when it opens. I think they're on track to open early spring of this year. Awesome. So it looks like they've been working on this for like a year. So a week ago, they are trying to open this space in LA. Oh, this is cool. They're actually in the build process of it. Wow, they're fully building out the space themselves. This is a seriously expensive endeavor. So this is like a plants and coffee shop, like you guys were saying, opening here in LA in hopefully a few weeks. Looks like they're done with the interior build. There's the greenhouse. Wow, I mean, just that greenhouse, that's a $80,000 greenhouse probably. And the real estate must be theirs too. Wow, that's really, really cool. I'm definitely going to check this place out. Damn, and they built this thing from the ground up. That's a serious investment. Coffee and plants from 94 weeks ago. So a year and a half. You guys go follow Creatures, Plants and Coffee. It looks like they are fully sending it. And that's super brave to do this. And especially in this economy. And as all y'all said about plant shops, like let's have places like this survive. And hopefully they'll get some rare plants. Hopefully people that own plant shops and sell plant shops, like go read the comments on the YouTube video. There's some great insights into what you should be doing with a plant shop, such as like a soil scoop bar. Someone mentioned in one of the comments, like their local plant shop has like a DIY charge per the scoop, like all your soil amendments. So perlite, coconut coir, aeroid mix, all of your bulk amendments, which is so cool. Such a great idea. But at the end of the day, all of these businesses are still going to have to compete with eBay and Etsy, private websites and auctions and Facebook plant purge groups and group meetups and swaps. I think we have a very bright future as an industry ahead of us, but we're in a very transitionary phase. So where do you want to buy your plants? Go down in the comments and tell people. There's a lot of business owners in the comments that have plant shops, have closed plant shops, want to open plant shops. Tell them what you want and where you're shopping. Because for me, I'm mostly buying on eBay, mostly buying really rare, weird specimens in auctions or from private sellers. And I'm also importing still a couple like weird things that I want to get cheaper, but I know I have to like reacclimate and mostly deal with root rot. So how does a new, $200,000 build coffee and plant shop survive? I think they need to sell unique products. It needs to not be overpriced, as a lot of you guys mentioned about Plantarina. But it really just has to be competitive in price. Like I hate to say it really comes down to that, but you can't sell like a $20 or $30 like 4-inch cute ceramic pot. I mean, you can and you'll sell a few of them, but it's not going to be what the average person goes in and get. Like bring in plants that people want to buy and are seeking. And then when it goes out of style, get rid of it. People typically go into these spaces and like take content, like film vertical video, and then they leave without buying anything. And best case, they buy like a cold brew for $4. So thank you guys so much for watching another video. I truly appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this, please click the like button down below and consider subscribing since we make one new video about plants every week.